This wasn't even supposed to be part of the video, but I just found a coconut and I got my pocket knife with me. I think it's quite warm. No good. Welcome to Utila. What's going on, friends, pals, dudes, people, anybody and everybody watching this video? Welcome back. Today I want to share with you guys 5 essential travel tips for the beautiful little island of Utila in Honduras. I actually tried to record this on the beach the other day, but it was way too windy. So here I am now, finally in a little bit of a space that is actually decent for recording audio and video. This truly is a rare treat, at least for us since we're budget travelers. But without further ado, let's get into it. So, tip number 1 is try some form of diving when you're on Utila. So if you've done some research on Utila already, you will have probably seen that it is most famous for its diving, whether that be free diving or scuba diving. There are dive centers everywhere. Some of the nicer accommodations on the island are actually tied to the dive centers as well. And if you're doing a course or you are diving for fun, every single one of them offers free or discounted accommodation while you're diving. For us, we had a private room with a fan. We didn't really need aircon, and we actually had 5 free nights stay while we were diving. Besides it being really cheap and having nice accommodations attached to it, the diving on Utila is actually beautiful. The waters are crystal clear. There's some very healthy reefs on the northern side of the island. The southern side has some nice diving too, but it's a fantastic place to learn how to dive or just maybe get a bit better at diving. That was kind of the reason we wanted to go, was just to work on our dive skills a little bit for future dives we do, and maybe some more skill required spots. And finally, as I said, the island sort of revolves around this diving culture. The moment we stepped off the ferry, we had someone tell us Utila is a drinking island with a diving problem, and after the 2 weeks we spent there, we can definitely say that those words held true, and it is indeed that. But it's a really, really good place to make some new travel buddies. When you're diving at these places, they almost have their whole shop set up to be a social, fun environment where you can make some new friends. We found the age range there was fantastic. It was people who were 18 all the way into their 60s and 70s, doing diving, having fun. It was a really, really cool mix of people from all over the world and different age groups. Tip number 2. Now, this one kind of goes without saying in any country you're in, but particularly on an island like Utila, and that is eat local food. Islands like Utila are, for the most part, quite cheap, but if you're eating Western meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, things can add up kind of quickly and get quite expensive. especially with diving, things can start to add up. So eating local food like we did almost every meal is a must. And I say that not just to save money, but it is delicious. In Honduras, one of their main staples is a dish called a baleada. It's basically a burrito that's just folded over top of itself, or I guess a Honduran quesadilla, whatever you want to call it. It's a flour tortilla filled with a base of beans and cheese, and then you can add in whatever other fantastic toppings you like. Avocado and bacon, chicken. Some places, geez, they do mega baleadas filled with burger toppings, and you can basically, whatever you can dream up, some awesome Honduran lady is gonna cook for you. Most of the time, baleada will be anywhere from about 40 to 90 lempira, which is anywhere from $1 to $4 US. So if you're eating that a couple times a day, you can imagine the savings start to add up quite a bit. If you do have a bit of a higher budget though, and you still want to eat local, they have also, of course, excellent seafood on the island. There's a lot of spots that are only open a couple days a week, and they do barbecues with all sorts of fish you've probably never tried, like barracuda and I don't know, other fish I'm sure you probably haven't tried before. But there's lots of other options for people with higher budget to still eat local and enjoy super delicious food. Tip number 3 is bring a book / be ready to chill out and relax. Now, if you're not diving on Utila, I'll be honest, there is not a whole lot of stuff going on. It is very much an island vibe sort of place. It has a super laid back vibe, and other than having a few beers in a hammock at the beach, there's not a whole lot else to do. If you've got some work to get done, obviously you'll have lots of time to do that. Or if you've got a nice book to read, this will be the perfect time to do so. So don't expect to be seeing any extravagant waterfalls or going on any long adventures while on Utila, unless diving is on your list. Other than that, it's going to be a pretty relaxing holiday. Tip number 4, rent a scooter or a pedal bike for one day. Personally, I love driving around on scooters, as does Felicia. It's just one of the most fun things to do, especially on a tiny island like this. It's really safe. There's not really any big cars around. It's mostly just golf carts and scooters, and people are driving relatively slow. There's no motorways or speeding 18-wheeler trucks around. So it is a super relaxing and nice place to drive a scooter if you don't have a whole lot of experience driving them. It's a little bit more on the pricey side compared to other places we've been. It costs anywhere from around $25 to $35 US per day, depending on whether you get it from one of the shops or maybe your accommodation or dive center rents them out for a little bit cheaper. It is a beautiful island to explore, and it actually kind of gave us some like Pacific Islands, Rarotonga, Fiji sort of vibes. It's a very sleepy little island, but the locals are all super nice, and it was a lot of fun driving all through the back roads and through the little farm roads to a couple beaches on the other side of the island where there is very, very few people. Otherwise, if you don't mind the heat, pedal bikes go for about 10 US a day, and you could absolutely probably still explore the entire island on a pedal bike in one day. Tip number 5, check out the nightlife / party scene on Utila. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, yeah, I don't really like to drink much anymore or stay out late, and trust me, compared to my former self, I also don't really party as much as I used to, but it is really cool to see what's going on each night of the week while you're in Utila. Since it's a small little island, it's almost like the bars sort of take turns each night of the week to spread the wealth and the love around a bit. So Tuesday night might be karaoke at one of the dive shops, and then afterwards everybody goes to a different bar for maybe some live music or an open mic night. There's lots of different activities happening at different bars that you may not necessarily need to go and drink the night away, but once again, it's cool to meet people and also just check out the island, see maybe some spots that you wouldn't normally see, and I don't know, go have a mocktail or a Coca-Cola. A lot of them are right on the water and have beautiful docks. You can look at the stars. It is definitely a fun night out. Now, I figured I'd give you guys a couple little bonus tips because most of the time, one of the main things people ask about is how much did you guys actually spend when you were there? So to give you guys a quick breakdown, me and Felicia spent 2 weeks on the island and about 5 days of that was diving. Now, we both love scuba diving, so we paid for a 10 dive package at Alton's Dive Center, which was absolutely fantastic. And we both paid $465 US each for diving and accommodation. So 5 of those nights was free, and we paid for another 8 nights on our own accord, which was about 24 US per night. That's for a private room, right on the water. Our view from our little working station was, as Felicia said, one of the nicest she's ever had, and probably one of the nicest we will ever have. It was a really, really fantastic experience, and also $465 may sound like a lot, but for 2 weeks accommodation with all of that diving included, really, really great deal, worth every penny. Meals, as I briefly touched on before, can range anywhere from $1, $2 to about $20 US. So it's really easy to live on a budget, but it can also catch up with you pretty quickly if you are going out to some of the nicer cafes and places. The prices can be more what we're accustomed to in expensive developed countries. So in total, for about 2 weeks on Utila, we spent about $565 to $600 US each, including accommodation, food, renting a scooter for a day, everything. Last little tip I do want to touch on is actually getting to the island itself. So Utila can actually be a little bit tricky to get to. I guess it depends. Everybody has different experiences. We ended up taking a bus from El Salvador, which is where we were previously, to San Pedro Sula, another bus to La Ceiba, and then a ferry. You can actually fly to the island of Roatan, which is right beside Utila, but most people end up getting a ferry from the little coastal town in Honduras called La Ceiba. You want to arrive at the town of La Ceiba in the evening generally, so you can just have one night, get up early, and hop on the earliest ferry, which is, I think it's at like 8 a.m. Either way, the ferry is very, very difficult to catch unless you are in La Ceiba in the morning. And there's also very, very little to do in La Ceiba. It's not a particularly nice town, but it's a fine place to just get some accommodation for the night, head straight to the ferry station. That way you actually have your entire day on Utila. The ferry costs around $30 US per person, which sounds steep, but it is a super nice ferry. It's extra fast. And if you weigh up the cost of flying, taking buses, whether they're chicken buses or coaches or vans, and the ferry, it definitely works out to be much cheaper, at least for people like us who have 2 big bags. But that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you do have any questions about Utila, please leave them down in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer any other questions you guys might have. Take it easy, and as always, I will see you in the next one.